Hey guys, so I'm going to do a video that has been kind of requested a good few times, but like different parts of it have been requested, so this is going to be a collective of a few different questions that have been asked, and it's kind of an overview of concealers, so what concealers to use and where, and maybe with which tools to apply them. My favourites, which I'll probably show you throughout the video as well, and then I'll show you a good range of different price ranges and stuff like that you can choose from, and just give you a little bit more variety. So first of all, I'll start off with, say, eye concealers. Now, I would always say it's very important to have a separate face concealer to an eye concealer, especially if you're getting a little bit older. So if you're past, say, your 20s, like your early 20s, when you're starting to get a few fine lines, you get a little bit drier around the eye area sometimes. Some people just have lighter, looser, like thinner skin around the eyes, so you have to be even more careful when it comes to that. So my favourite under eye concealers, first of all, would be something like this, which is the Snque Cover-Up by MAC. Now these come in a great range of colours. I usually use the NW20. The pink toned ones I find are the best ones for brightening up the eye area, and this is just general, so the eye area in general. Now that's not to say it's going to suit everyone. Sometimes if you're very red on the eyelids, you might want to use a yellow toned concealer, because yellow will counteract that redness a bit more. And then say for in here, if you're quite blue like I am, where I have a really noticeable vein, or if you're more kind of purple down here like I am as well, you might want to use correctors. So I'll show you all those in a second. But generally, if I'm just using a one do-all concealer, I'll use a pink one, because pink is quite brightening. The Snque Cover-Up by MAC is one I love. I mean, they do come in great ranges. A very pale one would be the NW15, would be for like white, like very pale, like NC10 people who can't find ones pale enough normally. And then they go quite dark, so this would be like the NW50. Now these ones always you can double up as well as like a light foundation. You can kind of spread it out over the face a little bit. I wouldn't by any means use it all over the face as foundation, because it's a waste of product, but it works great especially around maybe the centre area of your face. Then another under eye concealer, which is a lot less expensive, not that MAC is ridiculously expensive, but it is more expensive than this, would be the Collection 2000 Last Imperfection Concealer. This is one I discovered a few months ago from Boots. It's very inexpensive. It's only €6 as opposed to the MAC Snque Cover-Up, which is $17.50. And this is practically the same thing, whereas these come in squeezy tubes. These come with wands, so for personal use it's fine. If you're using it on clients, you might want to put it a wee bit onto a spatula or onto like a palette and then apply it with a brush. Or sometimes I generally, when it's on myself, I apply it directly from the wee pad that's inside this, and then just use my fingers to pat it in, especially if I'm in a hurry. Now the other under eye concealers that are good, so if you have slightly drier under eye and you need a bit more moisture, something a little bit more fluid, the MAC Select Cover-Up concealers, which come in a similar thing to the Collection 2000 ones. They're in one of these guys with one of those type of applicators. Again, these come in a great range of colours. Unfortunately, the Collection 2000 ones don't. NW20 would be one of the most popular ones in this. NW15 is good. The NC20 is good. Then also the Pro Longwear by MAC is another really good one. It's a bit newer. This one is very long lasting, and what I like about this and the Snque Cover-Up is that I don't need to set them with powder. They seem to just set themselves, so they don't really go into lines, and you don't need to set them with powder. It doesn't stay really wet or like move around or whatever, whereas the Moisture Cover does. You do need to set that with powder, so that would be something just to be aware of. Now, I like you can see with those are all liquid concealers, and they are my favourite ones for use around the eye area, especially if you are, like I said, a wee bit older, or if you have looser skin. Now, if you are younger and you have tighter skin, or some people just have slightly thicker skin underneath the eyes, then you can definitely get away with using some more cream concealers. Now, cream concealers I can't get away with very well myself, like say the Studio Finish Concealer by MAC, which I would consider more of a heavyweight concealer. It just gathers in my lines and looks dry and makes me look older than I am. So you have to have tighter skin, or you have to be young enough to get away with it. But if you can get away with it, it's grand, because that means you can use it on the face as well as under the eyes, which is a great thing. One thing that I can use is something like this. This is the Screen Face Pro Palette Concealer. Now this kind of concealer is a little bit more emollient, so when I put it on, say, the back of my hand, I can see it's just more greasy, so it mightn't be great for camouflage, because if it is a little bit more greasy, it means it's not going to be quite as opaque or as hardcore for concealing, but it is going to be good for around the eye area. So I like this for older clients, or even for myself, because I do tend to get dry around the eyes. I have dry eyelids, which is good for, say, eyeshadow, but not necessarily great for in general otherwise. So this one is one I really like because it comes in 3 different colours. Now I tend to just use my fingers when it's on myself. I have a separate one that I use for my kit, but I will scoop a little bit out and put it onto a wee palette and then mix and match. I really like this because I can use the amber one, which is slightly more peach toned, in here around where I'm blue, and then the yellow I can put up here where I'm more red, and then the pink underneath for brightening. So this is like an all-in-one treatment. It pretty much takes care of all my different discoloration around the eye, because particularly Irish skin or Celtic skin, Scottish, it's the same thing. We just have a lot of discoloration that's really obvious from being so pale, and then of course there's freckles and all these other things you have to deal with, so it's good to have stuff like this, have a few different colours so you can mix and match. And then other ones that I use quite a lot would be, say, something like this, the Bobbi Brown Corrector. Now this is the older formula, and I've heard they have reformulated them, so I'm not really sure what the new formula is like, but this is something that I really like. So I'm going to pop a little bit of this now. This is peach. I generally should be using light peach, but I've none of that left. But this is great. I'm just use my finger because I've been using this on myself more so lately, and I just pat this on that area that's blue, and there it's pretty much totally counteracted the blue. So you can see I'm blue here if the camera picks it up, and this has just totally gotten rid of it. So that's really, really handy for that. So these kind of corrective concealers, great for around the eye area. I love that for there, but it almost has a lipstick consistency, like it's quite greasy, which it's why I kind of like it there. As in, it's not like you know, slipping all over the place, but I find it's just a little bit too greasy for the face. But I really like this for the eye area. And then I have the colour Bisque, which would be more of a salmon or pink colour. And this is what I would use for the more kind of purple areas, or if you're just dark, generally dark. And this is the kind of thing that I would just pat onto the dark area there. And I only put it onto that triangle area because I'm not really dark out here. Now I do have a few veins that are noticeable, but a normal concealer will take care of them. They're not like ridiculously dark. So just like that. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go out by any means and get 20 million different coloured concealers, but I just have these because obviously they're in my kit, and I do have different colours coming through on my eyes, and this is just the proper way if you're talking colour correction to get rid of them. So this is just more like, it's a bit anal. I mean, you could just use this kind of concealer if you want, but it doesn't always take care of the blue on the inside of my eye and stuff like that. So you can probably even see the difference there, how this is just looking a lot brighter now than here. So I should have said when I started off, I have a very light covering of foundation on because I have very just bad skin at the moment. I have a lot of blemishes, you can see all those there. So I would say if you wear foundation, always do your foundation first and then conceal afterwards, because even a wee bit of foundation will do a little bit of concealment for you, so you probably won't need to use as much concealer once you have the foundation on. And then if you were to put your concealer on first and then put your foundation on over it, especially if you're using something like this, which I use to buff in my foundation, you're just going to take away that concealer that you took the time to put on first. So the only time I would conceal before foundation really is if you're using like a coloured camouflage concealer or a colour corrector for the face. So something like this, which is the Snque Moisture Cover by MAC, but it's like the yellow tone one, and then there's this peach one, or coral one. So these are more for if you have like a port wine stain or something quite obvious on the face or wherever it is on your body, and you want to colour correct it first, and then you would pat your foundation on over it to try and tone it in with the rest of your face. So colour correcting should mean that it neutralises the colour that is on your face to start off with, not that you're adding on a whole new massive area somewhere. So for instance, if you have a big red area, a very big high colouring or red area, by putting a green or a yellow toned concealer on top of it, it's not just going to look ridiculously green or yellow, as long as you're using a good a decent concealer or corrector rather, and that you're not putting on too much, because you don't need too much when it comes to colour corrector. You just need enough to correct it. So when you put complementary colours on top of each other, which would be like say red and green, or you can just use yellow as well, on top of each other, they cancel each other out, and that's how that works. So something else similar to that would be like this NYX concealer. This is the green one, so I use this on myself sometimes when I have say areas where I've been bold and I've been picking and I have a lot of red. So I'll just grab a little bit of this. Now because this isn't too ridiculously obvious, sometimes I'll pop a little bit of it on over my foundation and then just put normal concealer on over it. But trick is not to use too much either, and just pat it on, and you can see there it's neutralized that red, and it doesn't look ridiculously green, but it might just look a little bit off, so you will need to put something more in tone with your own foundation. You can just go over it maybe with your own foundation, but the trick is pat the foundation on, don't go buffing it in, because you're just going to move that concealer or corrector that you put on first underneath. So another under eye concealer that I like as well would be something like this. This is the Kick-Ass concealer by Soap & Glory. It's the pink toned one here. So normally when you see these duo guys coming together, Laura Mercier do them, Bobbi Brown do them, you'll often see that there will be a powder in the top or somewhere. So these corrector ones, generally it's the salmon or the pink one for the eyes and the yellow one for the face. And even these, the formulas are a little bit different. So the one for the eyes I find is just a little bit more moisturising, which is what you want. So that's another really handy one to have, something like that. Now of course when it comes to eyes, you also have these brightening pens, which a lot of people are familiar with. The mother of all those would be the Touchy Claw by Yves Saint Laurent. Now I prefer not to spend so much on a product when there's a lot of variety out there just as good. The MAC ones are really decent that are out. They're just the Prep and Prime highlighter pens, I think. One that I use a lot is the Sleek Luminaire. So this one is just, it's like a pen that comes with one of those little brushes. These can be cleaned like you would any normal brush. Just make sure you don't have too much product on it. You just click the pen and you get product coming up through the brush bristles, and then you wipe it onto the area you want to brightening. These are more brighteners. They tend not to be too opaque, so you might want to correct first and then use these to highlight on top, because that's what they are. They're more brighteners. They're actually highlighters rather than, you know, correctors. Another good one would be the Lacura one from Aldi, believe it or not, and it's pretty much the exact same idea. Just click it and it comes up. These so far are all pink based, so it's really good for, like I said, brightening around the eye area. Then I have this one by Barbara Daly. This is one that rather than clicking, you twist it, and this one is a bit more neutral but tiny bit pink. Still does the same job, you just use it to brighten up the eye area. Now you can also use this, you know, to highlight say underneath your brow bone, or to do the top of your cheekbones, maybe down the centre of your nose. I find these ones just, when you are quite pale, it's hard to get one pale enough to work as a highlighter, but that's what they can use definitely if you're a little bit deeper, slightly more medium skin tones. These brighter ones work really well for any of those other areas, so they're other ones, really good ones to choose.